All right, so this is land trust, and what is a land trust? Basically, this is the first step. You want to learn all about it, learn the why and the how, and we're going to dig into it right now. So what is a land trust? A land trust is basically a holding entity, a trust, that's revocable, and it's meant to hold legal title into properties, whether it's land or real estate, a house, whatever. You can use it to hold any real property. So the trustee name appears on the deed on public records. So it's important to appoint a trustee. And we can talk about that later, but you want to appoint one that you can later replace. Because you want to keep your name on public record. So whether it's your good friend or someone you hire, or maybe it's one of your assistants, someone on your team, you want to have a person that you can dedicate or make as your interim trustee per deal. You don't want similar or the same name on multiple deals. Okay, because their name is going to appear in public title, and anyone that wants to look it up can, and then they're going to look up that person, and then it can lead back to you if you know, which may or may not be a good thing. Who knows? So, and then you could have the real beneficiary, called the beneficiary. Basically, is the real owner, the legal owner of the property. That stays private. The beneficiary keeps full control of the property through a power of direction. And the cool thing about a trust is you can always reappoint a beneficiary or have other beneficiaries involved. So the power of direction is treated as the owner for tax purposes. And the trust is ignored by the IRS. So you're going to claim it on a 1041. But for now, we're just going to deal with the land trust. So now we're going to talk about how it compares with other ways of owning trusts. So you have a land trust. So your name stays completely off public records. Okay? So we've established that. That allows you to be private. You're asset proof, judgment proof. If you do this 100% correctly, and then, makes things cheaper as well. So you avoid probate on the property if you're going to keep it. You can transfer the interest pretty easily to someone else. Basically, it's a transfer of appointment on paper. You don't need to do a new deed, and often no transfer of taxes, which is pretty good. It gives you so when you do the land trust, it gives you total liability protection and lawsuit protection. However, when you transfer it in your name, there is zero liability protection. Okay? So the LLC is in the public. It's public record. People can look up your name, and if you don't have an agent of record, like me, I'm an agent of record for a lot of people, a lot of entities. I help people do LLC formations, and I'm the agent for a lot of them. So if you want that, you can get your LLC and get your land trust in a package deal. So like I said, the LLC is public record. It reveals who the owners are, unless you have an agent of service. And then you can stay hidden. However, the LLC gives you strong liability protection against creditors, against people trying to sue you, against the property itself. And the banks love LLCs. They love lending to LLCs. And you can still pay the transfer tax when you need to do the deed and the property taxes and all that good stuff. So it's slightly more paperwork, but it's a good level of protection. If you want total protection, then you go to the trust level. And then you can use the trust and then use your LLC as the beneficiary. That's the next level. That's like high level, okay? So if you want to go high level, you'll get the land trust and then use your LLC as the beneficiary and have agent services. That's like total protection right there. So let me explain agent services real quick. So with agent services, basically, if anyone wants to find out who you are, find out who the owner of the LLC is, they have to come to me first. And they'll send me a notice or send me a demand, and I don't have to answer that. By law, I don't have to answer it. I can send it to you, and you can decide what you want to do with it. So a lot of times when attorneys and companies see that there's an agent involved, they just leave it alone. They don't want to go through the work to, try to do a discovery on a LLC that has an agent. It's just not worth it for them. It's too much hassle. So the key benefits of using your LLC as a beneficiary. For one thing, you can put all your partners on the LLC in the operating agreement, and then they would automatically be beneficiaries of the trust. So if they're worried about, well, my name's not on it, okay, yeah, it is. You're on the operating agreement, and then, like I said, the LLC is a beneficiary. So, in essence, every member of your LLC is the beneficiary. They don't have to worry about having their name on it, or having their name on title, or if they're going to get paid or not. If they're on your team and you want them to get paid, then you can put them in your operating agreement, and then they can be assured that they'll get paid down the road. So the LLC is real liability protection. A plain land trust gives you zero lawsuit protection. However, if they don't know who the owner is, why would they do a lawsuit? That's usually how it works. They got to know who owns it first. Otherwise, it's frivolous. So if you're sued personally, a judgment creditor can force the trustee to deed the property to them. That's why you don't want your name in the chain of title or in the chain of things, because then they could say, oh, well, you own it. We know you are. We know you're the owner. Come on. The IRS does it a lot. So if you live in the house and the house is in trust, they'll just say, well, we know you own the house. So that's why, like, let's say you're living in the house. You want to have the address of the trustee of the trust somewhere else. Like for me, I use traveling mailbox. They're really good because then I can have my properties in trust, and the trust never has an address at the property address. You want the trust to have an address somewhere else. Just some points of thought. So when the beneficiary is an LLC, the property is now shielded by the LLC's charging order protection. And if you're using Wyoming as your LLC home, Wyoming has some pretty serious charging orders. That means you can't even come and open a court. What do you want to call it? A pleading, a petition. So you can't even start a petition without proper charging orders. So if you don't know what that means, go look it up and you can figure that out. Basically, you need a cause. You can't just say, oh, I slipped on the sidewalk. It has to be more than that. So a creditor can only get a charging order against your LLC and the member's interest. So let's say you own 20% of the interest in the LLC. That's all they can get out of it. Nothing else. And they usually cannot force a foreclosure or take over the real estate itself when an LLC is involved. So that's a good thing. And then when you're using a trust and an LLC with agent services, you're getting total liability and protection services. You're going to be judgment proof, lawsuit proof, and you're going to have your name off public record, which is pretty cool actually. Because if you go look up I forgot what it's called. So if you go look up your Lexis report, it's basically your consumer data all compiled into one report. The credit bureaus send all your credit data to Lexis. So I was surprised to learn that all my deals were in Lexis because I signed as the trustee of my deals. So they correlated me to the properties through the credit bureau data. So that's why you want to hire someone else to be the trustee. You can always fire them later, kick them off as trustee so they don't have like an interest in it. So that's just my recommendation. So if you've done real estate for a while, you might want to go look up your Lexis report. You'll be surprised that all your real estate deals are on there. So the cool thing about using a trust LLC is the public record only shows the trustee's name. So it can be John Doe as trustee of the 1234 trust as owner. Okay? So the the LLC is the beneficiary of the trust. So they're going to be two separate entities here. So someone searching county records has no idea who really owns the property. So they can't really start a lawsuit. They can't start anything if they don't know who owns it. And it's really hard to prove because obviously the trust is private. You're not going to record the trust, okay? So it's easy and cheap to transfer the sale of a trust or LLC deal. You can even transfer 100% of the LLC. So you can transfer the beneficial interest of the LLC when you sell the property. And you can leave it in trust that way. So you can sell it with the trust in place and then transfer the beneficial interest to a new buyer. All right? So it's simple. You can use multi-investor deals for this. You can use the LLC for multi-deals. You just want to make sure that if you're doing multiple deals, you want to make sure that someone else is the trustee. So your actual name on the deal is not on public record. Okay? Otherwise, you'll see all your deals in Lexis. If you want a link for that, I can give you a link for Lexis, and you can go look it up. You can get your actual Lexis report. It's like, mine was 50 pages. Yours might be more, might be less, but it's pretty amazing. Pretty surprising, too. So, it's great for estate planning because what it does is it keeps it out of probate. It provides family protection. If someone dies, basically it passes on to the trustee, then the beneficiaries. So lender acceptance. So lenders generally accept trusts and LLCs as the beneficiary. So you can have a trust and then have an LLC as beneficiary, and that's totally fine with most lenders. And then on due and sale clause, when you're transferring ownership of the LLC, the beneficiary does not trigger the due and sale clause. Okay? So if you transfer to somebody else that bought the property or that buys the property, that's okay because it's not going to trigger a due and sale clause. In most mortgages. In my experience, it has not happened. And I've been doing this since 2012. I've seen a lot of properties, a lot of deals, and so far I have not seen it happen. So the only thing that changes is the beneficial owner or the beneficial interest. So this can be useful if you ever want to sell the property or by selling it, or if you're wholesaling the property, or let's say it's a rental and you want to sell your portfolio. This is a good thing. So the cool thing is, so here's the easy example. So it's Jane Smith as trustee of the land trust agreement, dated whatever, as to an undivided 100% interest. The trust agreement, which is never recorded, says 100% beneficiary interest is the My Investments LLC. So whatever your LLC name is, that's going to be the beneficial interest holder. Okay? So the bottom line is, the land trust plus the LLC as beneficiary gives you maximum privacy protection plus maximum liability protection. It's pretty cool. It's easy, cheap, and cheap to transfer. And it's the best, it is the belt and suspenders approach that most RV park, apartment, and commercial investors migrate to. So just know that. So if you can do this for the long run, you'll want to learn this and adopt it for future deals. So then there's the revocable living trust. Just know the revocable living trust provides you no real asset protection. The trust name, often your own name, appears on the deed. So privacy is low, protection is low, and it avoids probate for everything you put into trust. However, there's no liability protection while you're alive. So because you still control it. See, with the trust, you may control it as a trustee, but you technically don't own it. The trust owns it. Okay? So just a point to remember. So in a revocable living trust, you still own it in the trust. The trust doesn't control it because you're the trustee. So there's no liability protection while you're alive. And most lenders are fine with that. Okay? So title in your personal name. That's how most people do it. I'd say probably 90% of people out there, 90% of homeowners out there, even real estate investors are putting deals in their own name. It's crazy. So your name is fully public. It goes through probate when you die. It's the easiest and cheapest way to buy a property and finance a home. But it gives you no liability protection, no privacy protection, no asset protection, and of course you're not judgment proof, and you're not lawsuit proof. So basically there's no protections at all. So in summary, use a land trust when your top goals are privacy and privacy and asset protection. And then the cool thing is you can easily transfer the beneficial ownership if you want to sell the property. So the cool thing is you can sell it in trust and transfer the beneficial owner to the new buyer. A lot of buyers will love this. Many experienced investors combine them, which is the trust and the LLC, together to provide, like I said, full. I gotta do this again.